What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with another schedule preview and record prediction. Today we're going to be going through the 2020 Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin's a team past couple of years that have had a shot at getting to the playoff, but have not been able to get past mainly the Big Ten championship game. That's been their big flaw. They haven't been able to win a Big Ten championship. They've been, I think, 4 or 5 times in the last couple years. Especially recently, they've been the top dog in the Big Ten West. Wisconsin's a team that I'm really high on this year. I think they're going to be better than a lot of people say. So let's go ahead and let's see if Wisconsin is going to be able to finally get into the college football playoff, or if Wisconsin is going to stumble yet again this year. All right, here's the schedule for the Badgers. Of course, you got some games that stand out to you. I think there's a little stretch of games that's going to be tough for the Badgers, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But as you see down there, their 2019 record was 10-4, 10-2 in the regular season. Third loss came to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Controlled the first half of that game, but it slipped away from them at the end. And then they lost to Oregon in the Rose Bowl. It was a great game to watch. I watched that entire game. Massive finish for Oregon, big stop. So that's how Wisconsin ended 10-4. Still a very good football team last year. Up there at the top, you're going to see my key home games are going to be in red. Away games are going to be in white with a red background. And then the neutral site game, there's one for the Badgers. And as always, it's going to be in black. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into their schedule. No better place to start than the first game of the season. And that's going to be against Indiana. It's a Friday game, probably going to end up being a Friday night game, in my opinion. And this game, I think, could be really fun to watch. Indiana's a team that I think could go 8-4, 9-3 this year. The FPI really likes Indiana. Again, I don't rely on the FPI. I think it's just a neat thing to look at. So Indiana quarterback Peyton Ramsey transferred out. I believe he's going to be at Northwestern now. So Indiana's going to have to break in Michael Penix as the quarterback. He was in the starting role anyway, but Peyton Ramsey kind of switched out with Penix. It was a weird quarterback cycle at Indiana, but Penix is the true starter now. Of course, Jack Cohn is going to be the starter for Wisconsin. Very fun way to start off Big Ten play. I'm going to give this one to the Badgers, though. It's a home game. I think Wisconsin's got too much talent. Again, I know everyone's worried about what they're going to do at running back. But every time a Wisconsin running back goes to the pros, we all get worried, and then they come out with yet another great running back. So I don't see Wisconsin having a problem with Indiana. I'll take the Badgers in this one. Then they have an FCS team. They're going to play the Southern Illinois Salukis. I don't see them having a problem with this one. Again, it's an FCS team, Wisconsin, an FBS team, and need I say more? Wisconsin's not going to have a problem with this one. Then they get to play App State. I think this is a game that a lot of people are going to overlook, but App State has been the top team in the Sun Belt ever since the Sun Belt got formed, and ever since the conference realignment happened a couple years ago. App State has been the top dog in the Sun Belt, and to me, they've been a consistent top 25 team. I don't have them ranked in the preseason poll, but I was very, very close to ranking them. And this is the reason why they have to play Wisconsin. I don't think I don't think Wisconsin will have a lot of trouble with App State. It is at home. App State, a pretty good football team. But of course, they're in the Sun Belt. They don't get a lot of the top talent in the recruiting classes. I'm going to give this one to the Badgers. I think it'll be a better game to watch than a lot of people think, though. Then they get their first road game of the season. It's going to be against the Michigan Wolverines. So Michigan was a team that I did not rank well in my preseason poll because Jim Harbaugh doesn't do as well as we think he's going to do, and that's every year. Michigan is just disappointed year after year. I know they went 11-1 that one year, or 10-2, my mistake. The year that they played Ohio State in the double overtime game, but Michigan is losing so much this year. I know Wisconsin's losing some too, but Wisconsin is returning more than Michigan. So I think I'm going to give the early edge to Wisconsin. I'm favoring Wisconsin. I think it's going to be a close game because it is in the Big House. It's a tough place to play. So I think this game could really go either way. I think early I'm going to pick the Badgers, but I think it's going to go either way. Then they have to play Notre Dame. This is a neutral site game. It's going to be in Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Going to be a great game to watch. Probably the top game of this week. There are a lot of good games on week 5, but probably going to be the top game for week 5. This game is interesting to me. As I talked about in the Notre Dame video just a couple days ago, I think that Wisconsin, again, both teams have questions. Both teams are going to have questions on wide receiver. That's the big key that I think is going to really show out in this game, is which wide receiver core can play better. But I'm leaning towards Wisconsin in this game because Wisconsin's going to get their running game going, and I think Wisconsin has a better defense than Notre Dame. So I'm going to give the early edge to Wisconsin again. Not going to be surprised if Notre Dame pulls it out. But again, I think Wisconsin is the better team. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the Badgers. Then they have to play Minnesota. It's going to be a home game. I think it'll be a really fun game to watch. Minnesota, of course, probably going to be another top team in the Big Ten West this year. They surprised a lot of people last year, and they're returning some good production, are the Golden Gophers. Again, I think I'm leaning towards Wisconsin this one. I'm not going to be surprised if Minnesota keeps it close. Minnesota, again, this game was played at home in the snow. Wisconsin ended up beating Minnesota. That game was going to decide who went to the Big Ten championship game, and it ended up being Wisconsin. I'm going to lean towards the Badgers again, just because I think they have more talent. On the defensive side, I think Minnesota has a slightly better offense, but I think it's going to come down to the defensive play in this game, especially since it's a home game for the Badgers. So I'm going to give this one to Wisconsin as well. Then they have their bye week. This is, again, an okay for the bye week in terms of scheduling. You'd like to have a bye week earlier just because of the games, but you can't really argue with having a bye week right in the middle of the season. 6 games, bye week, 6 games. It can't really get any more perfect than that. Then after their bye week, they're going to play on the road against Maryland. So recent news has surfaced, if you haven't heard, Tulia Tagovailoa, the brother of Tua, has transferred from Alabama to Maryland. So Maryland all of a sudden becomes an interesting team to talk about, and you wonder, well, is Maryland finally going to be good in the Big Ten? I think Maryland is going to be okay. I think now with Tulia, they can make a bowl game. But I don't see Maryland beating Wisconsin here. Again, Wisconsin just got too much talent. So I'm going to give this one to the Badgers. Then a home game Halloween night against Illinois. Illinois was the team that shocked Wisconsin last year, took away their hopes at a playoff appearance if they would have won the Big Ten championship game, which of course Wisconsin didn't. But Illinois surprised them last year, and I think Illinois is only going to get better this year. I think this game is going to be more interesting than people think to watch. Halloween night has a lot of really fun games going on. This game, I think, is going to be no different. I like the Badgers in this one, though, saying that Illinois definitely has some good talent. I just think Wisconsin has more talent, as I've said, and I think Wisconsin's going to have pretty much every problem figured out by now. So I like the Badgers. Then they get a road game against Northwestern, as I just talked about a little bit ago when I looked at the Indiana game. Indiana transfer quarterback Peyton Ramsey is going to Northwestern. I think that's why the FPI is really high on Northwestern. I think they're like 25th. I don't see Northwestern that high. I still see Northwestern as a bottom team in the Big Ten. I think Wisconsin, again, just has more talent. Peyton Ramsey can definitely show out. He is that type of quarterback. He can make a big play with his arm, and if he has to, he doesn't really like to, but if he has to, he'll run with his legs. So I think it'll be an interesting game to watch as well, but I'm leaning towards the Badgers in this one. Then they have to go on the road to play Purdue. I think this one's more interesting than people see as well, because although Purdue has been consistently a bottom team in the Big Ten, Purdue has a lot of playmakers. Rondell Moore is going to be coming back. A lot of guys got hurt for Purdue. But I believe their quarterback is going to be coming back from injury as well. So that's big. Purdue has playmakers on both sides of the ball. And as we saw a couple years ago, Purdue, when they're running at full speed, they're able to do some pretty interesting things. And a couple of years ago, that included beating Ohio State, who was number 2 in the nation at the time. So Purdue definitely has the potential to knock off some big things. I think this could be a trap game for Wisconsin. I think this is a possible trap game for Wisconsin. Again, I'm going to give the edge to Wisconsin here. I'm not going to be surprised if Purdue makes it a good game, though. Then they have their final home game of the season. They get to play Nebraska. I don't think this one's going to be much of a problem. Nebraska definitely is going to get a lot better this year, just with the recruits that they're bringing in and everything like that. But Wisconsin, again, too much talent. I think they're going to be able to overpower Nebraska on both sides of the football. I'm giving this one to the Badgers. Then the final game of the season, they're going to be playing Iowa. Iowa, to me, is going to take a step back this year. Again, Iowa's a really good team at home, not such a great team on the road. And Iowa's lucky that they get Wisconsin at home. So I think this game, again, is going to be super competitive. Final game of the season. Wisconsin, again, probably going to try to be able to punch their ticket. Big Ten championship game. Iowa might want to be able to put a stop to that, but it's because it's at home. I'm still leaning towards the Badgers, but because it's at home for Iowa, again, I'm not going to be surprised if Iowa keeps it close or maybe even pulls out a win. Again, I think this is a quote-unquote trap game for Wisconsin, but I'm favoring Wisconsin in this one. So with everything being said and considered, I know I said I'm leaning towards Wisconsin in every game they're playing this season. But my prediction for the Badgers in the 2020 season is 10-2. And I know that may come as a shock, especially since I've favored Wisconsin or leaned toward Wisconsin in every game they're playing. But when you look at that 3-game stretch right there with Michigan, Notre Dame, and Minnesota, they're probably bound to lose one of those games. And then I just see Wisconsin losing a second game somewhere down the road. Maybe it's to Iowa. Maybe Purdue gets them. I think 10-2 is a really safe bet. Because, again, I could see the Notre Dame game going either way. It's going to be in the Big House when they play Michigan, so it could go either way there as well. Again, I think 10-2 is I don't think 10-2 is generous in any means, but I think 10-2 is a reasonable fit for Wisconsin. They are still the top team in the Big Ten West, in my opinion, and I think they will make it back to the Big Ten championship game. So now let's move on to the record range. What this is I take this team's worst case scenario and the team's best case scenario. Worst case scenario I have for the Badgers is 8-4. Again, it starts out with probably a loss first game of the season to Indiana. Indiana, again, could be a really good team. So Indiana could surprise Wisconsin there. But when you look at the 3-game stretch, Michigan, Notre Dame, Minnesota, if Wisconsin can't get stuff figured out or Michigan, Notre Dame, Minnesota are far better than we all think, they're probably going to end up losing 2 out of the 3 games in this scenario, and then they're going to lose a game on the road. None of their games on the road are extremely difficult, except for the Michigan game, but they all could be trap games. Of course, Maryland now with Tulia, Purdue, they got a lot of playmakers, and Iowa, who's just a good team on or at home in general. So I think Wisconsin's worst case scenario is 8-4. Then again, their best case scenario, 12-0. Again, as I said, I am leaning towards Wisconsin in every game that they play this season. So I could easily see them winning all 12 games. And I think if they get past the first half of the season, that's where you have your most difficult games. I think the first half is more difficult than the back half for Wisconsin. When you look, Michigan, Notre Dame, Minnesota, of course, stand out in the front half. And then the back half, nothing really stands out. Yes, there are possible trap games, but I think Wisconsin is going to be favored in every single game in the back half of their season, to my knowledge as of right now. Best case scenario for Wisconsin, an easy 12-0. My current prediction, I think this is a pretty reasonable prediction, is going to be 10-2. So that's going to do it for my schedule preview and record prediction for the 2020 Wisconsin Badgers. Also, remember that Memorial Day, 6 days from now, I'm going to be doing a live stream where I predict Navy, Army, and Air Force's schedules. I encourage you all to check it out. It's probably going to be around 7:30 Eastern time. I haven't really decided on the time quite yet. It'll be around 7 or 7:30 Eastern time. So whatever time that is in your guys' time zone, please check it out. So that's going to do it. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you're brand new to the channel or just enjoy the content that I put out. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a comment. Tell me your thoughts for the Wisconsin Badgers, maybe something I missed, or an underlying player that you think. I love to hear your guys' thoughts. I read through every single comment. It means a lot when I get people commenting on my stuff. And until next time, play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.